should have done things like clean my glasses and check to see if I have lipstick on my teeth before I actually press live. But what's the fun of that, right? It's like, okay, can I beat the nanosecond of the live, etc., before it comes to being. Anyway, what day is it? It's Thursday. It's Thursday already. April, unlike February, which took all year, April seems to also be going by quite fast. And of course, in Australia, it is past daylight saving time. We're back to Australian Eastern Standard Time. And for us, it is 7 a.m. So let's start with the Daily Egg, the news, and a little bit of views, just a little. So I do want to start off with, because as I said yesterday, as an old school radio personality, we like to tell you what happened on this day before. So this is an interesting one because of a news piece I'm about to share with you. So on this day in 1955, the Kashmir Princess or Air India Flight 300 was damaged mid-air by a bomb explosion and crashed into the South China Sea while en route from Bombay, the then Bombay, Mumbai now, India, and Hong Kong to Jakarta, Indonesia. 16 of those on board were killed while 3 survived. Now, this is why I'm explaining this, sharing this. The explosion was an assassination attempt targeting the Chinese Premier Zhou Enlai, who missed the flight either due to a medical emergency or, as one historian concluded, because he had prior knowledge. The Chinese government insisted that Hong Kong authorities investigate. They concluded that the Kuomintang were responsible for the bombing. Now, the Kuomintang were actually so it's the Chinese Nationalist Party. It's a major political party in the Republic of China, but it was initially based in China, and now it's based in Taiwan. It has been based in Taiwan since 1949, and this is opposing things here, because we all know what's happening with China and Taiwan right now. And if I can actually find that news piece, I will tell you. But there's a lot happening. So I will get back to that news piece. I'm also following at the moment Halley's Comet. It's in the sky. It's coming closer and closer to us. I remember seeing it in around 1985. But I'll come back to you with that. I'm still trying to find this news piece about. So give me a moment. Here we go. So from Al Jazeera, China's Xi Jinping says outside interference can't stop reunion with Taiwan. That's a very polite way of saying Taiwan belongs to China. In meeting with former Taiwanese President, Xi Jinping stresses historical trend of reunion of country and family. As I just said, Kuomintang used to be in China, and it's now in Taiwan since 1949. So the Chinese president met former Taiwanese President Ma Ying-jeou and said that outside influence cannot stop the family reunion. Xi emphasized dialogue between the two sides during the meeting with Ma on Wednesday, saying that all issues can be discussed. Beijing views the self-ruled island as a province that must be reunited with mainland China, and it has not ruled out using force to assert its claims to Taiwan. All of this has got to do with everything that's happening. The US is very interested in what's happening with Taiwan, and I'll let you know why in a moment. Taiwan cut off contact with mainland China and established its own government in 1949 after nationalist forces who lost the Chinese Civil War fled there. That was during Mao's communist time. Officially known as the Republic of China, Taiwan quickly became an economic powerhouse and an ally of the United States in subsequent years. It is now one of the largest producers of semiconductors, a key component in electronic devices across the world. No sitting Taiwanese president has ever visited China because they're not stupid. Ma is now on his second trip to China after becoming last year the first former Taiwanese president to visit the country. So look, China is courting Taiwan because the US wants Taiwan. And who suffers? Us, the people. Why? Because we want electronic devices. That's great. We're going to move on to other news headlines. Let's see what's happening with Sydney Morning Herald today. Okay, a big problem. Sydney rents hit record high. Whoo! Ooh, the housing crisis in Sydney is getting worse. People, I don't quite understand why this is happening. Why can't people just say enough? Cap this rent. I don't quite understand why we're allowing landlords and real estate agents and demand. From what? From whom? The demand is from overseas buyers buying up mansions and waterfront property that then it trickles down, and the higher they pay, the higher prices they pay for their, 20,000 bedroom mansions, which they don't live in, they just want it for, I don't know, wank factor. And so the trickle factor happens down to us. So it comes, and this is where people are now homeless. People are women especially, there's a rising tide, and I will talk about this in One Take News in a deep dive, of women sleeping in their cars. Homelessness is something that could be happening right next door. It could be someone sleeping on someone else's couch, sofa, because they don't have a place to go. All right, my darling, I'll join you in Studio K shortly. Other news, we're moving on to other. This is a curation of news headlines. I do a deeper dive on One Take News. We'll be resurrecting season 2 of that shortly, so I'll let you know. Maternity and mental health staff cut as unrest swirls at Sydney Hospital. So 2 things we really need. Maternity staff, which I still have a problem with. Because why are so many people still having children? I know that's a very, very harsh thing to say. It's a fundamental right of the human being, right? To reproduce. Yeah, but look at the people we've produced. Look at the people who have come forth from so far. I think Earth is trying to tell us something with this, because more and more people are not sure of their identities. What does this mean for anything? Talk about that another time. So this is the Northern Beaches Hospital. It's cutting staff and searching for a new CEO as its operating company restructures $1.6 billion in debt. Why should a hospital be in debt? Why aren't hospitals working in conjunction? Why is the government not funding? I do feel that this is a worldwide problem. It seems that medical industries are a government unto themselves, and hospital medical staff, though they are for the people, like the government, I'm not quite sure why this is a segregation here, why there is never enough funding and budget for medical reasons. Now, we're going to also go, so we're continuing with headlines. Make more things here. PM pledges mammoth help for new industries. Anthony Albanese will put a new law to federal parliament, my apologies, that promises a future made in Australia. I will be doing a deep dive, of Made in Australia later on this weekend. Join us. We have a new show premiering on Sunday, and I'll be talking a little bit about what things used to be like in Australia when they were made in Australia, and I will explain why I appreciate everything that was made in Australia back then. Now, not so much. Okay, where we go? Let's move on to something else. There's a news article. It's graphic content, even in the reading of it. So, this is from Sydney Morning Herald, written by Zach Hope and Karuni Rompees. Caught at an Indonesian abattoir, this activist says he was beaten, burnt, and smeared with blood. Singapore, Jakarta. An animal rights activist, hidden camera tucked in his clothes, finagles his way into an Indonesian abattoir and films what he and others claim is inhumane treatment of Australian cattle. His video captures an animal on its side, kicking as blood gushes from its open neck. One of its legs is hooked to a wire and the convulsing body is hauled across the floor. Look, I can't even read this anymore. But this is not a new news item, I recall. Let me see where it is now. I have to find this. 2011, news was breaking around that time, and I'm reading now from SBS Australia. An Australian halal certification organisation says slaughter methods revealed at Indonesian abattoirs this week are not necessary nor acceptable under Islamic law. Live Australian cattle exports to Indonesia have been temporarily suspended following revelations of animal cruelty at 11 abattoirs. Now, this story is from 2011. Oh, gosh. So, footage screened on the ABC showed cattle being beaten, their eyes gouged out. Oh, it was terrible. I remember watching this. And we were all in uproar, but we're also all in denial. How do you think this happens? I am a meat eater. We are meat eaters, but for the humane processes, because I believe, and this is just my belief system, yes, that human beings, we are not superior to the other living beings on this planet, but we do have to live in conjunction with them. And our particular species was the one chosen by the evolution of this earth and how it came to being to be the species that evolves into who we are now. I don't think Earth had us in mind in particular, but there's still hope for us. Wow. This is, so as Dr. Mohammed Lotfi from Australian Halal Food Services told SBS in 2011, thank you, beloved. Oh, well, and we're doing yellow for a reason, and I'll let you know why. Thank you, darling. That the treatment shown in Indonesia is unnecessary and inhumane. That is not the only unnecessary and inhumane treatment that comes via Indonesian hands. West Papua. Do you know what's happening in West Papua? Do you understand that West Papua has been trying to free itself for a very long time from a country that thinks it owns West Papua simply because it was once owned by the Dutch. So the Dutch then owned West Papua. The Dutch now no longer own Indonesia. However, Indonesia doesn't want to let go of its hold on West Papua because West Papua is ripe with minerals and all the things that people want to make their profits in the world. And that is why they really, really, really want the continent of Africa. Anyway, we're going to move on to other news. So that is what is happening. Oh, gosh. Back to the 2024 news article, covert operations like this have exposed cruel treatment inside abattoirs in Indonesia and Australia. And we are eating this meat of animals that have been tortured. We really perhaps need to go back to, if you want to eat meat, go get it yourself. Go fend for yourself. I know I won't be able to. I have seen, humane end of life of animals, how chickens are in farms, etc. But the meat we get in our supermarkets is, and we eat this meat. We eat another living being that was put to death in terrible ways. For those of you who have pets, you know how animals are. We don't have pets, but I understand that animals are living beings. They are super intelligent. Just because they are not like us doesn't mean they're not as intelligent. We like to make ourselves the superior, the top of the food chain. That is not what is. That is not what is. And this is not belief. This is fact from my mouth. We're going to move on to Reuters because, this is very. How is this world not changing? That news article was from 2011. Those practices have been around for a long time. And I am so shocked that these are practices happening by people. But you know why? Because the people who have to do all the dirty jobs of killing these animals, what are they getting paid? What are they getting paid? How much do, they get respected for what they do? Do they get honored for this task? Because we all know, for those of us from multicultures, we know that if animal sacrifices have to be made, there's ceremony involved. The animal is, supposed to be revered for its sacrifice, etc., etc. I know those things don't really get done, and I really don't want them to be done anymore. No more sacrifices. Isn't it enough that there's human sacrifice every day? Millions and millions of people? Oh, gosh. It may seem like I'm saying a large number, but what? It's 1,008 billion, right? To the state of America, it's just collateral damage. Oh, gosh. So listen to this, right? Listen to this. So whether standards have been breached, namely if the animals were still conscious, is another matter. So conscious or unconscious, so it matters. So if someone's unconscious, you can torture them. If an animal is unconscious, it's okay to gouge their eyes out and just slit their throats, etc., etc. An expert says the footage is inconclusive. For its part, the group People for the Ethical Treatment of Animals, PETA, has written to the Indonesian government calling for an investigation and possible criminal sanctions. Nothing's going to happen. Nothing's going to happen. But people have got to try, I guess. This is why protests happen, and protests work. When people come together in solidarity, it's scary for the government. Again, government is made up of people who the people voted in there. We're scared of each other so much. Why? Because in a crowd, we are dangerous. That's why they don't want us to come together as a crowd, with common unity. However, I do see that more and more people are uniting over, especially the heinous happenings in Palestine right now. I'm seeing, oh, by the way, Eid Mubarak. I'm seeing that a lot of people fasted in solidarity because of the month of Ramadan, and the moon was sighted last night, on April 10th in Saudi Arabia, because of course this is a leap year, so things are a little bit, skewed. I see a lot of people in solidarity. I say some interesting things. I have said this, and I'm going to continue saying this, and I will talk about this later when we're in Studio K. I am seeing a lot of people just using advocacy for avoidance. People leaving their sick children in daycare just so that they can protest at an action somewhere. And I think, okay, was that a decision you made knowing how it will affect? No decisions made. What am I saying? What am I saying? Maybe life of a sick child is not really worth much as the life of children who are being bombed, and that is true. I don't know how I've articulated this because I flow. Please do understand this is unscripted, but it's scripted in my head, and I just have to censor myself because I'm a bit, not emotionally, but practically angry at a friend for actions they did yesterday, and I think that is avoidance and advocacy on a bandwagon. Just what? So you can appear like you've got it all together. Great. I'm going to move on with that. And just in case my friend is watching this, yeah, I can't say things to you because I don't want to hurt you. Isn't that terrible? The truth, I know that some people are just not prepared for truth. Some people, and unfortunately then, even though some things need to be said, people are not ready for the truth. People are not ready to face their own hypocrisy and to be transparent with themselves. Even the good people. As I said, my friend, these are good people making really bad decisions, which perpetuates the cycle of tyranny this planet is under. Seems like a big stretch. Not really. The people who are the tyrants of this world, well, they get off on the helplessness of this world. Not saying we shouldn't be protesting, but we do perpetuate by the way we protest. It's the way we protest. I'm going to move on to Reuters. Wall Street ends sharply lower as sticky inflation dims rate cut hopes. What a dumb headline. Wall Street ends sharply lower as sticky inflation dims rate cut hopes. So there's no rate cuts. US stocks tumbled to a lower close on Wednesday after hotter than expected inflation data threw cold water on hopes that the Federal Reserve will begin cutting interest rates as early as June. Clearly, it's not doing that. US dollar surges to a new 34-year high versus yen after hotter than expected inflation data. The dollar rose across the board on Wednesday, soaring against the Japanese yen to its highest since mid-1990s. After US inflation rose more than expected in March. Rose more than expected? Pushing out the expected timing of a first rate cut to September from June. Oh my gosh, from CNN, Dow closes 422 points lower after a surprisingly bad inflation report. Interestingly, if you do follow astronomy and astrology, and if you know what the Schumann resonance is, it's an electromagnetic radiation, and last night it was at 42. I'll share all that information another time with another program we've got coming to you. It's out of this world. Stay tuned. So I am talking about, do you know what the Dow is? The Dow is the Dow Jones index. It's named after Charles Dow with his partner, and now it's just called the Dow, but it's actually Dow Jones. So I can't remember the Jones guy, but I remember Charles Dow. And That I remember I know this because the company that they founded now actually owns or publishes or is with News Corp, and they publish Wall Street Journal. So that's why I know all that little bit of information. I still don't know who Jones is. Oh my gosh. So there seems to be a crash coming, people. Why? Why? Why do you think? Let's go and see why. Because there are some other stories I do want to actually share with you about other things and things I'm seeing across the world and across the net. So I'm going to move on to that. But that's what's happening according to Reuters. Let's see what's happening with Associated Press. Oh gosh, it's Trump. Oh my goodness me. So I haven't explained, I'm going to go back to the inflation story. And why? Because of instability. You know, everything is based on emotions. Politics, stock exchange, everything is based on emotions. Fool yourself all you want that it's got, it's just all about commodities and, practicalities and we're doing a lot of work to help make the world spin, Yeah, bullshit. It's all about emotions and playing games with each other and dick measuring. That's what it's all about. And it's not just all, it's certainly affecting the entire world. The world is unstable. We have got uncertainty, and a certain amount of uncertainty is okay. It pushes us because we want to be certain. So uncertainty always helps us evolve. But the certainty in the, I just dropped again, but the certainty in the world, the certainty of world, based on our fears, based on the fact that none of us are assured of what tomorrow brings. None of us, not even in our modern day constructs and societies that are not getting bombed every day just because some egomaniacal maniac thinks that they own land that the US said that they could have. Right. Let's go on to the Associated Press. So, Trump renews criticism of Jewish voters who back Biden. He says they should have their head examined. This is how we felt when we saw black voters voting for Trump. It's like, what are you doing? Trump has stirred religious controversy again in his presidential comeback bid, and he is serious. This orange Joffrey may be president of that state of America again. And you know what? He is the president that the White House, currently as it is, deserves. So he stirred religious controversy again in his presidential comeback bid, questioning the mental fitness of Jewish voters, oh my God, who back President Joe Biden, and framing Election Day as a referendum on Christianity's strength in American society. Oh my goodness me! There is going to be a religious war. Don't fool yourself and don't think that there isn't a religious war happening right now. There is a war for souls, people. That's what this is. And they're doing it through economics. They're doing it through politics. And they're using religion. It's not really a war for souls. It's just a war for power. And they're using souls and religion to get this, to garner, more numbers for their sides. As I said, look, I know right now, I'm very happy for followers of Islam that people are seeing the lies that have been said about Middle Eastern people and Muslim people, starting from way back. Oh gosh, look, let's go way, way back. I'm going to start at the Gulf War though, but this has been happening way, way back. Like we're going to go way, way back, okay? Because hello, when did the ex-European refugees actually land in Palestine? Way, way back in the 1900s. Yeah, that was 1900s. Last century, and at whose instigation? At the state of America. Ah, my gosh, Gulf War, I saw that play out on television, and that's when I did find out about what's happening with Palestine, and that was I found out about that when I was 19, and that was 1990. And at that stage, for me, it sounded like a real religious war, because, of course, Western societies, we were told that it was an equal war between Palestine and Israel. It is not an equal war. It is a war between Israel and the retaliating forces known as Hamas on behalf of Palestine. I understand that the people of Israel want a place of their own. Of their own. Why do they have to go and steal from others? That, my friends, is colonization. And now they're committing genocide, which they've been doing in subtle ways, and suppression and oppression. And I refuse to dim this or talk in code. I refuse to do that. This is facts of life here. And if our platforms are going to stop us, and I know that on Instagram in particular, we are getting shadow banned and suppressed, and our numbers go down according to what we share. So I will share photographs of myself and my husband and of flowers and of the sun, etc., etc. And then I will place in, because my numbers for my stories go up. The stories go back into three-figure, numbers, view account. But if I post something about Palestine, well then 25 people will see it from. I used to average 800. And now, wow. So I don't care. That doesn't matter to me. There's an interesting thing that Associated Press has got here. Even when the news is free, journalism is not. Support independent, fact-based journalism. And with that, I'm going to ask you now, sponsors, we are looking for them. Patrons, we are looking for you. We are looking for people to come and join us, grow our channel. As you can see, there are some changes happening. There's more changes happening. We'll be launching them very shortly. We would like a revolution to happen because we are looking for evolution. But I'll talk more about that later. Let's continue with the news headlines here. 6 former Mississippi law officers sentenced in state court for torture of 2 black men. At least they're getting sentenced there. In Australia, unfortunately, no. A very terrible thing happened to a well-known singer, a First Nations woman from Barka. Her name is Barka. She's a Barkindji person. That's sort of central Australia. She's famous, and yet they get racially profiled. So she and her 14-year-old daughter were racially profiled in a chemist in terribly, terribly heinous ways. And white people coming up to them saying, "We saw you steal, blah, blah, blah." And no, this is a high-profile personality. But I know Winona Ryder did it, but she was not well back in the time. For those of you who don't understand what I've said, go fact check. This was 10, 15 years ago. But I assure you, people in this day and age, no, especially people in the public eye. She wasn't doing that. But if you are on Instagram, go find Barka and see that she's sharing stories about what happened, how she and her 14-year-old daughter got racially profiled in a chemist yesterday. And it is heartbreaking to listen to her 14-year-old daughter explain how it feels to be considered a thief in front of her mother, and her mother, who is a national celebrity, but not obviously national enough that these people can't recognize or they don't care, simply because they are First Nations people of Australia. I can feel my heart breaking because of that. It is, and as a multicultural person, I tell you, it's happened to me. So I am going to share some information when we go to Studio K for the second half of the Daily Egg. And I'll continue talking about that because every person of multicultural, when going into a retail environment, regardless of how we look or how much money we have, we get looked at a certain way. If it's a Euro person behind the counter and I think, "Excuse me? I don't think so." So we'll talk about that later. We'll move on with the news headlines. Oh gosh, Jessica Alba steps down. Look, I really don't give a shit, even though I do like Jessica Alba. So we're moving on to CNN. Hamas may not be able to find enough hostages for ceasefire deal. Hamas tells negotiators it doesn't have 40 living hostages that match the criteria required for first phase of deal with Israel, sources say. Wow. So I don't know how many people have been killed by now in Palestine. About 80,000, right? I think the Palestinian people have paid terrible, terrible price just in the last 6 months, let alone the last 75 years. Children rushed to hospital in Gaza after Israeli airstrike. And as I said earlier, Eid Mubarak, but there is no joy. Palestinians mark Eid in destroyed mosques and homes. As Israel's war rages. As the people of Israel, because I cannot call them people of Jewish faith because I know people of Jewish faith. I follow accounts for Jewish elders, for Palestinians. I know how people of any good faith feel about such things. It's genocide. We've got genocide TV happening, folks. And what's going to stop is, I don't know. I don't know. Because there needs to be, if this was a movie, hey, Hollywood. But Hollywood's not going to do that because Hollywood, well, if this is a fact, please don't think I'm saying anything. And also, if you're going to start throwing around the term anti-Semite, understand the term Semite, first of all. So if you are going to call someone who is pro-humanity and is talking up and talking about and talking out for solidarity with the people of Palestine and Middle East, and if you're going to call them anti-Semite, well then you're anti-Semite for being against the people of Middle East, especially the people of Palestine, because Semite is a term that is Arabic, Hebrew, and Afro, and it's about languages, but it was co-opted to hide behind, especially by the people of Israel, these ex-European refugees. Sounds like Eurofragility to me. Unfortunately, it's not just an ego play, it is human sacrifices. Human sacrifices. Why do we need to sacrifice animals, right? Oh, gosh. Look, as a news person, as a newsreader, this is why we have our own channel. I can't stay unemotional about this. It hurts my cells. We are all of the same species. Of course, we're going to feel things. We live on a planet that we think is segregated by water. No, the water is a conductor. It brings to us everything that people from the other side of the world feel. Currents come this far. Why can't the currents of emotions? This land connects us all. The winds blow. The dust of the ashes of people killed across the world fly through the air and land on all of us. We have all got blood on us because no one wants to change. And even if we want to, we get forced to take sides, but there is no side of genocide. I'm going to move on. I really need to. I'm sorry. Al Jazeera. Israeli air attack on Gaza kills sons, grandchildren of Hamas chief. Hamas says fourth grandchild of Haniyeh confirmed dead. I'm going to have to move on from Israel. I am certain that those of you who do watch the Daily Egg are people who keep abreast and aware of what's happening in the world. I am sorry, I'm having a very emotional reaction to all of this. The world is crazy, huh? I'm going to read headlines only. I'm not going to unpack these. So this is Al Jazeera. Fiercest battles in East Ukraine. Russia warns France against deployment. EU, that's European Union, lawmakers approve sweeping overhaul of asylum and migration rules. Australia too is doing this now and is putting forth a visa that is absolutely going to cut refugee status, or it's just. And look, this is a very contentious topic because yes, the countries themselves need to work some things out, but we have discussed this, and I have said yesterday in the news that ship that is languishing in a bay that was a former ferry, that was former Elizabeth, there was a former boat of Elizabeth, Elizabeth, Queen of England. Why can't we put people in that? Why can't we house refugees and people who need to escape their crises? The worlds that they need, the worlds that they know that have been bombed around, and how much more are these people going to take? How much more are they supposed to take? But everyone, all these countries, all the richer countries, all the European countries, well, they're just going to, Yeah, I don't know. More headlines. Steadfast despite grief, Palestinians in Gaza mark solemn Eid al-Fitr. Israeli air attack kills 3 sons. Yes, I read that. Biden, Japan leader Kishida announced stronger defense ties in state visit. Now, this is related to what I read out yesterday about AUKUS. AU, K, US. So Australia, UK, and US are uniting in and getting submarines to patrol the borders of these countries, of our country, of the UK, of the US, and now they're getting Japan into it. So it's just going to be jokers. So that's why Biden and the Japanese leader are announcing stronger defense ties. What is this about? Is this about keeping us in or keeping people out? And you know what? I really, really believe this particular thing, that only the people of that nation can truly, truly look after that nation. I do know someone who had an indigenous identifying person who has a cybersecurity or had a cybersecurity company, because his belief was that the people of the land are the people most willing to look after it. I believe this of the First Nations people of the state of America, and most definitely people of First Nations people of Australia. So I'm going to move on, okay? And now from New York Times, England limits youth gender medications, part of big shift in Europe. 5 European countries have restricted hormone treatments for adolescents with gender distress. They have not banned the care, unlike US states. This is an interesting thing. I won't unpack it here, but I'll keep the story in mind, and I will also do a deep dive on it later, because I don't know. Who can talk about these things? Can women talk about these things? What's happening in the world? Can we talk about how people used to be when they were younger, and how girls go through a tomboyish phase because they see there's more freedom in being a boyish-like person? Is there something happening in the world, a lack of identity, so no one can find within their vessels their energy that is binary, but they don't identify with either because their vessel confuses them and they don't know how to be? Is it essential for young people to ride that terrible wave of lack of identity? Because I do know that even binary people go through it, where we're like, well, I don't know how to be. Boys certainly don't know how to be. They're supposed to be men, but they're boys, caught in a transition period just because they're getting erections. It's adolescent time. And women and girls, we're like, ew, periods, ew, boobs. And then it's like, ew, boobs. We're women. And we're women? We're women at 13 just because we have our periods. So, you've got to bleed to be a woman? Okay. And we're coming to the crux of it. I do want to, just quickly, before I move into Studio K, share information about the fact that this is Child Abuse Awareness Month. Again, this needs a bigger time to talk about it, because I shine a light on Child Abuse Awareness Month with Save the Children. Each year, National Child Abuse Awareness Month is acknowledged throughout April. National Child Abuse Prevention Month recognizes the importance of families and communities working together to prevent child abuse and neglect. And that is directly correlated to what I just read out before, because it is abuse to not allow a person to be who they want to be, but it is also abuse to not. And this is what I want to read out to you, because I do have some other things I want to share with you about something I read out yesterday. Parents of Michigan school shooter Ethan Crumbley sentenced to at least 10 years in prison. So Ethan Crumbley was 15 when he killed 4 people at his Michigan school in 2021. His parents, James and Jennifer Crumbley, are the first parents convicted in a U.S. mass school shooting. So they have both been sentenced to at least 10 years in prison after jury convicted them of manslaughter in a rare case of parents being held responsible in a school shooting. Now, this sounds unfair, right? They were found guilty of involuntary manslaughter after prosecutors presented evidence of an unsecured gun at home and indifference towards the teen's mental health. Oh, they were sentenced immediately after several parents of the victims gave emotional impact statements. Not only did your son kill my daughter, but you both did as well. Nicole Beausoleil, the mother of Madison Baldwin, 17, told the court as she wept. And I'll explain to you why they have been held accountable. Prosecutors in the trial said the parents were criminally negligent for providing a gun for their child as a Christmas present, and for ignoring signs his mental health had deteriorated and that he was potentially violent. This is why there actually needs to be tests done before people are allowed to have children. There needs to be psychological tests for guns, for children, to have children, to drive cars, not just licenses, psychological tests. To drink alcohol, to partake of drugs, because drugs with everybody, it's not the same thing. This is why cannabis is now a government legally sanctioned thing. It's medical. It's medicine, as is LSD. But LSD is illegal all over the world. But if you read what doctors say about it, that is also a topic for the juice, the longer episode. I have mentioned that we have got some new shows being launched shortly. Stay tuned. The Juice is definitely one of them. The Juice is part of the Daily Egg, where we talk about things, and I'm going to talk about that in Studio K with Dwayne. Dwayne is in Studio K at the moment because we've decided we're going to have roti today. So he's actually making roti. We've been working for a while, and now he's in the Studio K doing that. I'm sorry that I keep, it sounds like I'm fluctuating like up and down, but I need to in order to stay regulated to share these news with you, because all of this is mind-boggling once you can see the patterns clearly. Parents bring children into the world that those parents themselves are not equipped to raise and guide. Parents think of children as their possessions to do whatever they want with. And then there's this too much freedom as well, because parents are the guidelines for children. Parents are there to guide children to their best potential. This is also where bioethics comes into it, but we won't talk about that right now. Oh, who wants to be a trillionaire? Dwayne and I have been waiting to see who is going to come forth as the trillionaire of this century, because the first billionaire was announced about 1920s, and it was a Rockefeller or Rothschild, one of them. Yeah, conspiracy theorists love those names, but they're not wrong. Conspiracy theorists are very wrong about a lot of things because they get to a point where they're really good. They've unpacked, they've been critical, they've been thinking, and then they settle for their comfort zone and they don't unpack further. You've got to keep unpacking. You can't settle for what suits your narrative about the world. You have got to go in search of truth. Truth changes facts. Facts is irrefutable. You cannot change fact, but truth changes fact, actually. You can't change fact after the fact, but truth changes fact. So you can change fact. Fact and friction. Who Wants to Be a Trillionaire? We'll come back to you about that. Forbes' annual list of the 400 richest Americans debuted in 1982. So that's great. With shipping magnate Daniel Ludwig in the top slot. Ludwig's wealth, the magazine reported, was $2 billion. That's back in 1982. And that $2 billion is about $6.3 billion in today's dollars. You know, I don't think people quite understand what $6.3 billion is. I mean, nobody in this world has to struggle. Nobody. Not a single person in this world of 8 billion people has to struggle or it has to do without money. That only 13 billionaires graced the first Forbes 400 now seems almost quaint. Only 13 back then. Who could have imagined billionaires would quickly subsume the entire thing, or that the list might? in the not-so-distant future, that was 1982, hatch its first trillionaire. This hasn't happened yet, but we're on track. This is from Mother Jones. The steep upward trajectory of the Forbes 400 is not a matter of entrepreneurs getting better or smarter. Nah, it's actually us getting stupid. Or even savvier, really. Rather, it's a story of congressional capture and decades of policy failures. Ever since the Reagan Revolution, and this is what Mother Jones has written, the United States has lacked a tax mechanism to stop individual fortunes from growing wildly out of control, from becoming something akin to a black hole, devouring ever greater portions of the nation's economic pie. God. The poorest members of the latest Forbes 400 are worth almost $3 billion. And the share of the nation's wealth held by the richest 0.01% of households has more than tripled since 1982. This disruptive, excessive wealth flows easily from one generation to the next, thanks to an estate tax so easily circumvented that, as one of then-President Trump's economic advisors famously put it, only morons pay it. That's what they think of us. That's what they think of you. Make America great again. Wow. I did have some other things to read, and I'm going to read it because this is problematic. And this is not feel-good news by any chance, but you know, what the hell. I was also going to tell you that chocolate prices are skyrocketing, and it has very little to do with inflation. Cocoa prices are at a 47-year-old high. Now, if you watch the stock exchange like I do, and I told you yesterday, green stocks, all my investments, have I got any investments left? No. Have I got any money? No. So, you know, don't listen to me for advice because I thought green stocks were on the up, but clearly the people who don't want that are stronger, and they're going to pour all their money into it to make sure that anything that is good for us and the environment and the earth and for people and for equity is not going to gain traction. So back to chocolate. Your sweet tooth cravings are about to get more expensive just as well. I have weaned myself off chocolate because, oh my God, a whole block a day is my thing. Anyway, in 2024, the price of cocoa hit an all-time high, reaching a staggering almost $6,000 on the New York commodities market, according to BBC. This, however, wasn't some one-off event. I'm reading from Food and Wine, by the way. This, however, wasn't some one-off event, but rather the culmination of a more than 2-year uphill swing in prices that's already rocking the confectionery industry, and it's trickling down to consumers like us. Yeah, that's because we're the ones who are addicted to sugar. We got addicted to sugar. Everything has sugar. It is a vicious cycle. They get us addicted to everything. They get us addicted to the screens of these electronic devices whose semiconductors are coming from Taiwan, whose lithium batteries are being mined by 4-year-old children in Congo. And of course, in the last cocoa season, the Swiss Platform for Sustainable Cocoa reported nearly 5 million tons of cocoa were produced around the world. However, the mass majority of it, 60%, was grown in Côte d'Ivoire, the Ivory Coast, and Ghana, followed by Ecuador with just 9%. And cocoa, like coffee, is a vulnerable plant to climate change, and this is what's causing all of this. Coffee and chocolate, cocoa, all of these things, prices up, climate change because of that. Because no one wants to, not us, we are all looking at it, right? But the corporations, no, they don't want to look at it because profits. And what have I been saying for the last few episodes of the Daily Egg? Things are expensive because people want their profits. Profits. Goodness me. So I've got a few other things I want to share, but I'm going to now move into Studio K because I've got some other things I want to talk about. So join me, my friends. Let's go. I do have to find a better way of doing this transition rather than you watching me behind the scenes. But anyway, let's see this, my black jumper or my lipstick or my yellow earrings, which, by the way, we're wearing yellow for a reason, because it's the third day of Navratri. Oh my gosh, I have just walked into absolute aromatic heaven. My beautiful husband is making roti. Oh, am I just looking at the pots? I'm sorry about that. Terrible camera work, shoddy camera work here. Sorry about that. So now we're going to go into the more relaxed part of the world. I had to, gosh, look. The news, my friends, can be very depressing for all of us. So to counteract that, I'm going to talk about more depressing things. Sorry. I'm going to talk about things that should be getting you angry, frankly. I talk about things that should get everybody angry and make you want to change the world. Look, I'm very, very sorry about this. Very, very shoddy camera and behind the scenes things that are happening right now. I have to find a way to perhaps turn the screen off so that...
This is how you know it's real.
Well, this is... I did say it was unedited and unscripted, and if I could actually figure out what I'm doing right now, then we may actually have a show. Here we go. Ta-da! I did it. Oh my goodness me. So the news has been fairly heavy this morning. We've got inflation, chocolate prices are going up, coffee's going up, everything is going up except, and bombs are coming down. Well, pays aren't going up. We may have a first trillionaire. Dwayne and I have been talking about that for quite some time now. By the way, today's Daily Egg is going to go over the hour. Please allow us that 1 hour 15 because I do have some things I want to share. Look, celebrity, right? Because, or people in these positions. So in London, there is a production of Romeo and Juliet put on by, let me see where he is, Jamie Lloyd, who is famous for, hello sisters, hello. Now I can. I'm sorry if you have made a comment prior when I was reading the news because long-term viewers know that I tend to digress a bit, so best to just stay focused on some things at a time. What's going on here? All right, anyway, so I can't... I was reading an article. Give me a moment here. Oh, here it is. Jamie Lloyd, I said, it's got nothing to do with him. Well, it's got something to do with him, really. What this is about is a production of Romeo and Juliet that is being mounted in, that is going to be shown in London, and it's starring Tom Holland. And, sorry, I'm just getting distracted by some things that are happening on the screen here. Tom Holland of Spider-Man fame, right? That's how people know Tom Holland?
Yeah.
But Tom Holland actually came... He's a theatre kid.
Yeah.
He actually came to... he's a triple threat. And he actually came to renown for Billy Elliot, the musical, which is a lovely, lovely movie and lovely story, lovely musical. And I do enjoy that one. And Tom Holland, by all accounts, seems to be a really nice person. This is not about Tom Holland. This is about Tom Holland's co-star for this show that he is starring in as Romeo. And when they announced this on the Instagram account for Romeo and Juliet London, my goodness, the uproar because of who plays Juliet. I'm going to show you who plays Juliet. That is Juliet. How wonderful. Yesterday we were talking about David Copperfield and how the casting of Dev Patel as David Copperfield, a classic English character, was genius. And Dev Patel just fills each character with all of his cells, So Frances Amewuda Rivers has been cast as Juliet in this production in London of Romeo and Juliet with Tom Holland as Romeo. My goodness me.
Yeah.
The racists were at it again. The blatant, that's not right. Juliet should be black. Who said? People don't quite understand that Shakespeare also wrote about black people. Do you know Othello at all? Do people know anything about anything? But they had to cut off, they had to, what's it called, cut comments on their posts because of the filth that people are coming up with. The uproar over the casting of a black British woman who is fated by other people, who is I don't know. What is this world? What is this world? People develop what's called a parasocial relationship with people in the limelight. So they think that they can say whatever they want about people who are in positions of celebrity. Parasocial meaning one-sided. So therefore they can also, because they think that, they also think that they own these people and they can say whatever they want. And they seem to forget that everybody has feelings. Look, I understand this because I do say things about Jennifer Lopez, right? I do. I know I do. But that's because I am also in my 50s and I see what she's doing and it's very dangerous. And I have followed Jennifer Lopez's career for a long, long time because it's been interesting. She is someone who wants fame, and everyone knows she's Jenny from the block. Really, really, are you Jenny? No, you're not. But that's beside the point. I'm not here to be a Jennifer Lopez detractor, because I think she gets enough of that. And oh my goodness, at the moment, she is absolutely copying it. Some could say, well, she wanted fame that badly. This is what you get. Because people, but wow, people, the comments they write on her account, on Instagram, I'm not on Facebook, so I don't know, but my goodness me. It's like, okay, if you're going, but they go onto her personal account and rip her to shreds because, well, we do know that Jennifer Lopez uses a lot of lies to as the shield of celebrity. But that's what celebrities do. They hide behind their buffer zones of their agents, of their managers, of their public relations people, first and foremost. Understand that. It is public relations that runs the world. We'll talk about that another time. Actually, join me this afternoon because we're premiering a show. And I'm going to talk about that later. So we'll talk more about Jennifer Lopez, this cult of celebrity, the parasocial feelings people have, fans, the fanatics, etc. And what's happening. And unfortunately, what this distraction against Jennifer is making me actually want to support her. Like, how dare you talk about this, say all that. What else do we have to talk about today, darling? Well, some of the news items I actually read out about. So one news item was about this couple who has been they've been sentenced to 10 years jail because their son in 2021, when he was 15, killed 4 students at his school in Michigan. Right?
Okay.
So the parents have now been sentenced to 10 years jail for involuntary manslaughter. And it may seem harsh until you read or hear that actually they gave when he was 15, a Christmas present gun.
Aha. Of course.
Right.
There you go.
And we have talked about this. When are parents responsible for their kids? Yes, they are. Absolutely,
so
right?
His 15th birthday, they gave him a gun.
Yes. Because I guess you can do that in the state of America. I don't know. The gun law's there. I don't even know why they're allowed to. The right to bear arms. It's said in their constitution. And what is their national anthem? It's a war poem. The state of America is the state of war America. And yet it's seen as the shining light. It's seen where everyone must be to get ahead in the world. Because it's a free-for-all. And as long as you're willing to battle, you will win the war. It's an unwinnable war, but I guess it's a fallacy that, sometimes shows proof. I should just not talk about any of this anymore because as I had shared with you when I was reading the news, I was getting a bit emotional because I cannot be unemotional about that. And people say, well, the mark of a good newsreader is that they remain unemotional. Fuck that. No, thank you. This is why I gave up news. This is why I actually stopped reading the news in Fiji, because I like to put my sensibilities behind this. I'm not just a talking head.
I mean, that's why they have robots now, right?
Well, that's what they're going to do.
An AI thing reading the news.
Well, they are doing that now.
Zero emotion.
They're doing that now. Your newsreaders may not even be real. By the way, I got sent something. I got sent something yesterday about this model, this Instagram model and influencer who has like a 5-figure sum account following. She's not real. She's AI.
Wow.
There have been these things before. There's this little. There's one being. You can see. She's not the first, but this one looks terribly real. The first ones were CGI.
Right.
Little something. I can't remember who that was. Little, and she was an influencer, and not real CGI. But this looks absolutely real because they're taking imagery, and because people are using filters. What do you think is doing that to you? When people apply filters to themselves, what do you think is happening behind the scenes of the filter app? What do you think is being gathered, the information? Oh my goodness me. So your news will be coming to you via AI, unless of course you are getting your news from the Daily Egg, because this, my friends, is not artificial. It is authentic intelligence. There's that word. I hate that word. Authentic has been co-opted by... Very soon you're going to have authentic AI news reading. That's what authentic now means.
That's contradictory as hell.
Absolutely. That's the world. The contradictory as hell. Hell on earth, which should have been heaven. I'm going to go back talking about the first trillionaire, maybe announced soon. It's on the verge. We've been waiting for it. In 1982, as I read from that article, Ludwig was announced as the top billionaire, and in today's world, back then in 1982 was 2 billion, now it's 6.3 billion. And there were only 13 billionaires back in those days in 1982. Now the poorest people on the Forbes 400, the top 400 money people, are billionaires. And we're waiting for Larry Silverstein to... I've heard some rumors, which, rumors. They're rumors so far. I haven't quite found out if this is reality. But Larry Silverstein is going to be... Apparently. So Larry Silverstein. So bear with me while I just look at it over here. All right? This is why... We are looking for sponsors. If you would like to have a look at our media kit, please email us. All those details are in everywhere on the captions, etc. Because we are looking for sponsors. Come join us. Come ride this never-ending wave with us. We're not about to crash. We are rising here. We are sharing information of truth and fact and transparency. We're alive. We're real. We're emotional. We have behind the scenes shit happening all the time, I digress, but then I tie the threads back. But I guess slowly, right? I think that perhaps we would like a little bit more urgency behind everything. We have got very reasonable rates. They're accessible. Our platforms are global. We are on television. We have a television station. Please look around the lives of our days. See what we've got here. There's just 2 of us. Yes, we're a 25-person production house. How are we 25? We're half and half of something sometimes. Okay, great. So we are taking all of our skills and experience and capabilities we have between us. Between us, we have half a century and more of experience as adults. Forget how long we've lived. I mean, I'm over half a century old. And I've been doing what I've been doing for pretty much that time because I have been obsessed with news since I was a child. Ever since we moved back to Fiji and I saw the Fiji Times as the first newspaper published in the world today. And I was like, yes, I can be ahead of the world and knowing what's happening in England way before England knows it because that's how I thought as a child. Because that's what I thought at that time, And so, and then of course, so of course, as I got older, I realized, well, that's not exactly how it works. But anyway. So do join us. Oh, we have a roti on the way. Oh gosh, Mike, look.
No, sorry, don't worry about it.
No, well, this isn't the news part.
That's why I was putting it.
This is Daily Egg now.
You didn't have to do that.
Oh, I'm sorry about that, darling. I am. But as I said, this shoddy camera work of mine today is not
the camera
good.
there.
All right, I'm not going to move anymore. Okay. Okay. As I'm saying, we are looking for sponsors. We have a lot of shows to come on board with. These shows are a variety of topics, and the information and what we talk about, it's good. It's good. It's good. Just understand it's good. What else are we talking about today? We've got an egg coming up shortly.
Yes.
We certainly do. What else can I share with you today? We are talking about Larry Silverstein and what the rumor is that I'm chasing right now. Larry Silverstein, for those of you who don't know, was the owner or is the owner of the World Trade Center buildings. And prior to what happened in 2001, and Dwayne and I actually talk about how we were watching television when we saw this unfold. This great big lie that the world was told, that people paid with their lives. Sorry, darling?
Oh, because I'd just come to Australia.
Right, you were.
2001.
You were in Papua New Guinea, living in Papua New Guinea at that time, and you came to Australia to study, right? So.
Yeah. But I was drinking, having a few drinks with my mate, and we were watching Rage, and then live news came on. Just cut the TV, and we were watching it live. We saw the second plane.
Yep.
Hit the building.
Yep.
Live.
So did we. I remember that so distinctly because I remember what I was watching. It was a Channel 10 late night news program with a very popular Euro-white blonde presenter called Sandra Sully, and she's good. But I remember because it was breaking news, and she kind of fell apart a bit, which made me realize newsreaders need their auto cue. I was trained in Fiji. Our auto cue. My auto cue was Vanguard sheets that were being like this, except the person holding the Vanguard sheets didn't understand cadence and rhythm. So I'll go back to what I'm talking about, but I'll just explain this. So I would have finished and the Vanguard sheet's still there, and I'm like, let me just repeat what I said, And so that's when, and luckily because being a radio person, I know how to ad lib. I can go off the cuff anywhere. Put me on a stage, put me behind a mic, bang, give me a script, and I'm like, I can't do this. So I remember Sandra Sully fell apart, but at that stage, and she is considered still one of Australia's legendary newsreaders.
I remember that, yeah.
Along with Lilu Chin and Indira Naidu. But I don't know.
Familiar name.
Yeah, very familiar names. Australia was a bit more aware of its multicultural people. Now, we still don't have enough brown and black people, let alone First Nations people of Australia, on TV screens.
Really? More aware at that time of brown and black people? How did you go? I mean, like...
Oh.
Yeah, just saying.
Okay, maybe not. But not aware, but it's like, so Indira Naidu, she served as the diversity quota of that time, that one, I don't know if she's Australian or Southeast Asian, so Indian, but I don't know. And then Lilu Chin, of course, is of Asian ancestry, but these are Australian women. So there you go, one Asian. Oh, we have a puffy roti. Oh, that's beautiful. Beautiful. Roti making is an art, which, look, I tried. I think I rolled twice, and I was so proud of myself until I realized I hate this. And then I love. Thank you for doing it. And also, I now, if you're an Indian person, think of the fact that your mothers used to do this for you. My mother, Mom, I want roti. Okay, beta. And now I know.
Not everyone's mom was like that.
My mom was. Anyway.
You're mad.
So going back, rewind. So, but my mother indulged me. This is why I am the way I am. I blame my mother. Unconditional, never-ending love from that woman. So we were saying that this is what we were doing, and that's how I came to know. And my auto cues, as I said, so that's when I started then memorizing the news. For when I used to read the news back in early 90s in Fiji, I would have to memorize the news so that I could read it with my cadence and my rhythm and not then lose my place or not or whatever.
Because of the auto cue.
Because of the auto cue that wasn't moving in time with the way I spoke. So that's how I know. And then I also really can tell when someone is not that good with an auto cue. But now technology has made it such that the camera that you look into, the auto cue is right in front of it, like this. So you're looking straight into the camera. Let's just say this is the auto cue and you can see through it, and this is the camera. So no one has to be trained to keep their eyes in the middle and read with their peripheral vision. That's how it was done. You must not move your eyes, but you mustn't look like this. You know, otherwise you're like this. Hello, this is the news, blah, blah, blah. No, that's what they're doing now with AI. So yeah, that was it. So that's why I remember that very distinctly. And some would say, really? Not the bombing? Whew. It's not a laughing matter, I know, and I shouldn't make light of it. But I remember thinking, my goodness, if I was sitting at that news desk right now, as this was unfolding, I would bring facts and all sorts of things to the party. It ain't no party. Mm-hmm. Speaking of parties, I do bring facts and news and politics, etc. to parties, which is why I'm considered boring. What?
What were the facts at that time, though? Like, that people had? When it happened?
Well, I have been watching the Gulf War, remember, in 1999, 2000, etc.
Yeah.
Not 1989.
The
99.
The Trade Center thing wasn't related to the Gulf War, was it?
All of it is related.
Yeah, but at the time, what were the facts?
No,
yeah.
But I would, I'm sure there's other things, I don't know back then what the facts were in my mind, right? But I do know that as a news journalist, there are some things, and sure, because you can't be caught on camera going, we have breaking news, stay tuned, we will tell you shortly. It's just that. It's like, I think you have to constantly know. And I'm not saying anything against Sandra Sully, by the way. She was exceptional. But let's go back to what we're talking about. That footage is scarred into our minds. Mm-hmm. All the things we saw, all the imagery of those times, all the people jumping to their deaths because they'd rather not burn or collapse with the buildings. Now, why am I talking about this? It's because Larry Silverstein took out policies, insurance policies, on those buildings prior to the September 2001. Interesting, I also read a story earlier, that's what I led with, the first Today back then, Today in Time. And I shared the story of the flight, the Kashmir Princess Air India flight that got bombed en route to Jakarta, Indonesia, from the then Bombay. And in it was supposed to be a major Chinese official, but now they concede that he did know. People do know ahead of time. Now we know in 2024 that apparently the government did know that this was going to happen. 2001. We know this now. And you can't hide this anymore. Social media times, you cannot hide the atrocities and the conspiracies. You cannot hide the machinations of the powers that want to be. This is why they're cracking down on TikTok. This is why they're cracking down on their shadow banning and suspending us. People who are sharing information, because it's not just us in these Euro constructs that we all live in. It is also the people in these countries torn apart by the crises that they are experiencing. These people now with social media are actually able to show the world the truth of their atrocities. And what they can also see now is that the majority of the world is with them. And this is what people don't want us to see. How actually we are all in solidarity with each other. Going back to Larry Silverstein. So, and he used his insurance money to rebuild the World Trade Center. Fine. Works out well for these rich people, huh? Larry Silverstein is rumored to be the person who owns that bridge, the Baltimore Bridge that was just run into by a cargo ship manned by an all-Indian crew. I haven't followed that story yet, and I will come back to you with it. We'll do it for a deep dive. One Take News, stay tuned for that. But it is said that Larry Silverstein, the rumor I heard, this is a rumor, this is not fact now, I'm still following this, and I'll, what the hell, I should have come to you with the investigation already done, but what the hell, find information for me. Let's do this together. I'm putting it out there for you. Go find out who could possibly be the next trillionaire. Is it going to be Musk? Not with the disaster that he did with Twitter. That goes to show you, people like that shouldn't be making decisions. People like that are best, and they make their money by curating the best minds around them. That's how the US sent astronauts to the moon.
Did you say mines? Mines? M-I-N-E-S?
That too. That too. Cobalt mines. Mines and mines. They mine the mines and they mined those mines. Now, this is just wordplay, but thank you very much. That is a point there. Larry Silverstein. Let's go find out some information about him. Yeah. All right, well, I'm going to, this is turning out to be the daily roti, but it's the occasional roti. This is still the daily egg, but I think I'm done for today, and I would like to go. So we're going to end shortly. What else do we need to talk about? As I said, we are talking, I am talking later on today, and this is why I do need to go, because I need to prepare for that. And by prepare, I mean, what am I going to say? It doesn't matter. I'll just open my mouth. So by prepare, I do mean press the live button. Hello, I'm here. Let's talk. Oh, gosh. What other few things can I say? So yes, Eid Mubarak again. Also, this is the third day of Navratri. And if you are religious, may your rituals be wonderfully soothing for your mind. We're not religious, but we are spiritual. I do believe in God. And that is quite something for me to say. For those words to come out of my mouth for the first time in my existence, it's quite interesting. But I do believe in God. I don't believe in religion. I do understand the need for religion and why it was created. My idea of God is different, perhaps. It's not different to anyone else's. It is it's a different understanding of it, is what I'm saying. The divinity is within. So when we pray to the external manifestations of our divinity within, the people we attribute as being the divine powers or the philosophers, etc., we are merely praying to ourselves, our psyche. There's nothing merely about it. It's beautiful to understand that what you're doing is going into yourself and reaching for that which unites us all. Where do we all come from? We come from something quite divine. But that is a conversation for another time. Anything else I need to share with you? Let me see. I had said, chocolate is going to get expensive. Time to wean yourself off chocolate, folks, because you're probably going to have to, sell a kidney to afford chocolate. But then again, you probably have to, because the chocolate's ruining your kidney, so don't do that. But anyway, that's us for now. Thank you very much for being with us here today on the Daily Egg, the most important part of the breakfast show. We'll see you later. I will see you later this afternoon, somewhere between 12 and 2. This one is going to be a little bit, it's named in such a way because it's named after, well, me. And also how I tend not to really want to schedule when I feel I would like to share my thoughts. But we'll say 12 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time. See you there around that time. Thank you very much for being here. That's us for today. Bye.